Hi guys, it's Miss Brown speaking. I want to start out today's lesson with a quick review of what we have learned about algebraic expressions. So we started out learning that a variable is a symbol or letter that's used to represent a number. And of course, we'll mostly see letters, although symbols are used sometimes in math as well. The coefficient is the number in front of the variable that multiplies the variable. For instance, if I write the term 6x, that number 6 is multiplying the variable, therefore the coefficient is 6. Remember that terms and expressions are separated by plus or minus symbols. For instance, if I have the expression 2x plus 1 minus y, we would say that that expression has 1, 2, 3 terms, and that plus sign and that minus sign is what's separating those terms. Next, a constant is a term that is just a number. In other words, there is no variable. And in this particular example above, that positive 1 contains no variable, and therefore the constant is positive 1. Please remember that like terms have the same variable or variables with the same exponents. And you can only combine like terms. If your terms do not contain the same variable, you cannot combine them. And then the last thing we learned was that to distribute means to give out a factor over addition or subtraction. So let's keep all that in mind as we learn our next skill, which is to simplify expressions by distributing and combining like terms. Now, I'm going to give you a hint. All of the expressions that I give you will not need to be distributed. So how are you going to know when you must distribute? When you are thinking about distributing, something to look for is the parentheses. Look for parentheses. So our problem number 7 says negative 8q plus 6 plus 5q minus 3. Well, the first thing we would do, if possible, is to distribute. But as you see, that problem does not contain any parentheses. There's nothing there to distribute. So all we have to do is really combine like terms. So let's identify like terms. Remember, like terms have the same variable with the same exponents. So I notice I have the term negative 8q, and I also have this positive 5q. Both of those terms contain the letter q. And then I see the constant, that just means a number without a variable, positive 6, and another constant, negative 3. So to combine means to add. So when I'm looking at the terms that contain a q, notice the coefficient here is a negative 8. So I've got to take that negative 8 and combine it with, which means to add it to, a positive 5. So negative 8 plus a positive 5. Here's where we have to know our rules for positives and negatives. All right, so negative 8 plus 5 is just negative 3. Therefore, negative 8q combined with positive 5q leaves me with negative 3q. And then looking at the constants, well, I have a positive 6 that I need to combine, which means I needed to add it to a negative 3. So, a positive 6 combined with a negative 3 leaves me with a positive 3. Therefore, beside my negative 3q, I need to write a positive 3. And this is my answer. Now remember, I can only combine like terms. In my cloud that I just made, I have a negative 3q and a positive 3. Well, one of those terms contains the letter q. The other does not. Therefore, I cannot combine those two. That's all that I can do. Next problem. Again, simplify by distributing and combining like terms. If I'm going to distribute, the key thing I need to look for is parentheses. And if you notice, I have parentheses right here. Okay, well, what am I distributing? What am I giving out? Well, we need to look for a number that's right next to the parentheses. There's nothing separating those parentheses and that number. And if I look, there's a number 5 here. And there's nothing separating the parentheses in that 5. However, that 5 is actually not a 5. It's a negative 5. So what I'm giving out is that negative 5. Okay, and I'm going to have to give that negative 5 out to the A. Let me grab another color so it'll be clear. I'm giving it out to the A, and I'm also giving that negative 5 out to that positive 1. So let's see what this looks like. Well, notice there's a 2A that I'm not doing anything with. So I'm just bringing that 2A straight down. Now I'm taking that negative 5 and multiplying it by that positive A. A negative times a positive is a negative, and 5 times A is 5A. And then I need to take that negative 5 and multiply it by positive 1. Again, a negative times a positive is a negative, and 5 times 1 is 5. Okay, so I've distributed, but now I need to see if I can combine like terms. Well, looking here, I have a 2 that has an A beside it, and I have a negative 5 that has an A beside it. And since they have the same variable raised to the same power or with the same exponent, I can combine those. Then I have a negative 5 that doesn't have a variable beside it, so that's a constant and it's on its own. So let's combine. All right, I need to combine. Combine means to add. So I'm adding that 2 to a negative 5. So 2 plus negative 5 is negative 3. Therefore, 2a minus 5a is negative 3a. And this negative 5, I'm not doing anything with it. I'm just bringing it straight down. And that's my answer. Negative 3a minus 5. I cannot combine that negative 3 and that negative 5 because they are not like terms. One contains the variable a, the other does not. Next, simplify by distributing and combining like terms. Well, again, is there anything that we can distribute? Well, we're going to look for parentheses, and there are parentheses here. And then we're going to look for a number right up against the parentheses. Now, some kids will try to choose that number, but that's wrong, guys, because that number is not right up against the parentheses. There is a subtraction sign. So that subtraction sign acts as a barricade. But if I go on the other side, I see this 12 right here, a positive 12, in fact. That is right up against the parentheses, and that's what I am distributing. And I am distributing that positive 12 to the x and to the positive y. So let's rewrite this. First of all, notice in the front, the first term is a negative 14y, which I'm not doing anything with right now. So I'm just going to copy that down. Now I am distributing this positive 12 to this positive x. A positive times a positive is a positive, and 12 times x is 12x. And I also have to distribute this positive 12 to that positive y. A positive times a positive is a positive, and 12 times y is 12y. Now notice I did not do anything with this negative 12x, so I'm just going to bring that down. Okay, now that I'm done distributing, I have to work on combining like terms. Well, let's see if we have any like terms here. Well, I notice that I have the letter y beside that negative 14. And I notice over here I have the letter y beside that 12. And then I notice I have the letter x beside this 12 and the letter x beside that negative 12. So to combine like terms, I am just going to add the coefficients. So notice right here, I have a negative 14, and I'm combining it with, which means I'm adding it to, a positive 12. So negative 14 plus 12 is negative 2. Therefore, negative 14y plus a positive 12y is a negative 2y. And then I have to look at the x's. Well, here I have a positive 12 for my coefficient, and I'm adding that to, here I have a negative 12. So positive 12 plus negative 12 is 0. So technically I'm adding a 0x. But here's the deal, guys. 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. 0 times x is also 0. 0 multiplied by any number is 0. Therefore, this 0x is just 0, which is nothing, and we don't really need to write it down. That's like if I wrote down 3 plus 0, I wouldn't answer 3 plus 0. I would just answer 3. So I wouldn't answer negative 2y plus 0. That 0 is nothing. The best answer form here is negative 2y. Alrighty, we have one more. So we have in parentheses 8 minus b times negative 3 plus 6b plus 12 minus 10b. So we need to see if there's something that we can distribute. And that means we need to look for parentheses. Well, we actually have two sets of parentheses. So here in this problem, we really need to understand what our parentheses mean. Why are the parentheses there? These parentheses, the first set, are there to contain that 8 minus b together. The second set of parentheses serves two purposes. The first purpose is to keep that negative with the 3. So we know that's negative 3 and not subtract 3. It's also there to indicate multiplication. Again, so we know that's a negative 3 times the stuff in parentheses and not subtract 3. So we're going to have to end up distributing that negative 3 to the things in the parentheses, which would be to that 8 and to that negative b. And by the way, that's a negative 3. Okay, so let's get started. So we have a negative 3 times a positive 8. A negative times a positive is a negative. And 8 times 3 is 24. Then we have to distribute that negative 3 to that negative b. A negative times a negative is a positive. And 3 times b is 3b. Now, I haven't done anything with the rest of this stuff, so I am just going to bring it down. I'm bringing down the plus. And let me change my b. That b looks like a 6. Let me make that look more like a b. Okay, I'm bringing down the plus 6b. I'm bringing down the positive 12. And I'm bringing down the minus 10b. Okay, so now I need to combine like terms. So let's look for like terms. Well, I see a positive 3b that has a b. I see another term that has a variable b. And I see yet another term that has a variable b. I also see a negative 24, a term without a variable, which is a constant. I see another term without a variable, which is a constant. So now I need to combine like terms, which means I need to add them. So negative 24, I need to add that to positive 12. So negative 24 plus 12 is negative 12. So I'm going to write that down, negative 12. Now I need to look at all my terms with b's beside them. So notice I have a positive 3 here. And I'm combining it with or adding it to a positive 6. And I'm still combining it with or adding it to a negative 10. Now let's do this one little piece at a time. I know 3 plus 6 is 9, but I still need to add that to the negative 10. Well, 9 plus negative 10 is negative 1. Therefore, I know 3b plus 6b minus 10b is negative 1b. However, We would not write that 1 in front. It's understood it's there. So the better way to answer this is negative 12 minus b. Alrighty, guys. Have a great day.